Your face grinds into sand, grit cutting your lips, copper flooding your tongue. That's not dust. That's your own blood. Above you, 50,000 Romans scream from marble seats, a sound like thunder inside a stone bowl. You can't tell if they're chanting your name or your death. It doesn't matter. They don't want to fight, they want a spectacle. A shadow falls over you. A man with a trident and weighted net hovers, muscles gleaming with oil, helmet crest swaying. He isn't just an opponent. He's the tool Rome picked to make you die beautifully. You clutch your sword, your hand shaking. The rules are simple: bleed, scream, fall, but do it with enough flair to make the crowd forget their hunger for one more hour. You are not here to fight. You're here to die loudly enough to entertain Rome. Year 80 Rome is drunk on its own glory. Emperor Titus has just unveiled his masterpiece, the Colosseum, a stone beast big enough to swallow 50,000 souls. Its seats are free, its games paid for in blood. Whose blood? Yours. You didn't volunteer. Nobody does. You're a slave, maybe a captured soldier dragged across continents in chains. Maybe a criminal sentenced to the games, maybe just a farmer who couldn't pay his debts. Doesn't matter. On the auction block, they strip you bare. Run hands over your arms and thighs like you're a horse on sale day. Pry your jaws open to check your teeth. Sound strong enough to scream for hours, perfect. Then comes the brand, hot iron pressed to your skin. The letters SPQ are Senatus Populus Romanus, the Senate and people of Rome, property of the mob, property of the empire. The sear fills your nostrils with the stink of your own flesh. You're not a man anymore, you're inventory. Chains clink on your wrists as they march you into the bowels of the amphitheater. Iron doors slam shut behind you. You belong to the Ludus, the gladiator school, training ground, prison, slaughterhouse. And here's the joke. If you can call it that, congratulations. You're Rome's new favorite toy. You're dragged across Rome's crowded streets, through the stink of fish markets and sewage, to the edge of the city. The gates open, and you enter the Ludus, the gladiator barracks. Imagine a prison crossed with a boot camp. High walls, barred windows. Guards at every door. Once inside, you don't leave unless it's in chains or in a coffin. Your keeper is the lanista, usually an ex-gladiator himself, scarred, crippled, but still dangerous. He's your drill sergeant, your warden, your pimp. He doesn't care if you live or die. Only that you die well. The training begins immediately. They hand you a wooden sword, Rudy's. It's not lighter than real steel, it's heavier, deliberately so. The idea is simple: if you can swing wood until your arms shake and your gut heaves, real iron will feel like air. Hours of drills under the sun. The sound of wood cracking against shields echoing like thunder in the courtyard. Slip, falter, collapse. A whip across your back will remind you why you must stand. Your diet is carefully calculated. Forget steaks and wine, you're fed barley porridge, beans, and gruel, cheap fuel, but packed with carbs to bulk you up. They even make you drink a tonic of vinegar and charred bone ash, believing it strengthens your skeleton. Romans nicknamed you hoarder, ye barley men. Sounds unimpressive until you realize they're fattening you up like livestock for slaughter. You're sorted into a fighting class, drilled into a type. A Murmillo with heavy shield and sword, a Thrax with curved blade and griffin-crested helmet, or a Retiarius, the Netan trident fighter mocked as half a man because he fights bareheaded. The armor, the stance, the style of all are rehearsed, repeated, perfected. And here's the truth they don't tell you. You're not learning to fight. You're learning to perform, to die in a way the mob finds pleasing. Your life is choreography with blood for ink. Night falls over the Ludus. The drills end, but the chains don't. You eat, sleep, and bleed with the same men you train beside. They ray not friends, not really, but they ray the only family you'll ever see again. Before your first fight, you swear the Sacramentum Gladiatorium, the gladiator's oath, to be burned, bound, beaten, and killed by the sword. It's not poetry. It's a contract carved into your flesh with every lash and scar. You repeat the words, the iron collar still raw around your neck, knowing that Rome will hold you to it. Over time, the barracks creates its own twisted brotherhood. Veterans mark themselves with tattoos and brands, little gods inked into their skin for luck. Some carve tally marks into their shields for each fight survived. Others refuse to cut their hair, believing every lock holds another day of life. The scars that stripe their bodies are badges not of honor, but of endurance. And in this pit of slaves, rivalries still fester. Men spit in your water, loosen straps on your armor, whisper that you're weak. Tomorrow, they may be ordered to kill you in the arena. Tonight, they sit beside you, chewing the same barley mush. The line between comrade and executioner is thinner than the edge of a gladius. But bonds still form in the cracks of despair. Some gladiators share bread, patch each other's wounds, or teach you tricks, how to angle a shield against a trident, how to trip a murmillo's heavy legs. Because deep down, you all know one thing: Rome doesn't care who you are. The mob only wants blood. Dark humor runs through the barracks like cheap wine. This is the only school, one veteran mutters, where graduation means you're buried. Laughter follows a jagged, bitter. The kind that sounds more like choking. And you laugh too, because if you don't, you'll remember the truth. In the Ludus, every sunrise is a death sentence, just waiting for its signature. The day arrives. Dawn breaks over Rome, and the roar of 50,000 voices already rattles the marble bones of the Colosseum. Built only a year before, in 80 C, its inaugural games under Emperor Titus lasted 100 days. 100 days of slaughter. 100 days of blood. You shuffle into the arena through the Porta Santa Viveria, the gate of life, though you know most who enter never walk out. The floor is a masterpiece of cruelty. Beneath the sand lie labyrinthine tunnels and trapdoors, where cages of lions, leopards, and bears wait to be hauled up with pulleys. On other days, the pits are flooded to stage mock naval battles. Today, they want blood on sand. Your first fight isn't with steel. They hand you a Rudy's, a wooden training sword. The crowd jeers. It's humiliation dressed as mercy. You're thrown against another recruit, equally raw, equally terrified. Sweat slicks your hands. The sword feels heavier than iron. Every blow is clumsy. Every dodge desperate. But the crowd doesn't care about form. They want fear, panic, spectacle. They cheer when you stumble, howl when your opponent's wooden blade smacks your ribs. The sand sticks to the blood from your split lip, copper and grit grinding between your teeth. When your opponent falls, you raise the sword, heart pounding. The emperor isn't watching you, but the mob is. And here's the horror: it's not your survival they hunger for. It's the choice. The thumb. If the audience turns their thumb down, the message is clear: finish him. If they wave it sideways, the decision is left to the editor, the presiding official. Sometimes the gesture spares a man, other times, it only drags out the dying. You learn a bitter truth: gladiators don't just fight each other. They fight for the crowd's favor, because a cheering mob can mean the difference between living another day or being carved into history as one more nameless corpse. And sometimes, the games are rigged. Veterans with crowd followings, men who fought bravely, were often spared, while faceless slaves like you were cannon fodder. Rome didn't want fairness. Rome wanted theater, as the wooden blade rests against your opponent's throat. You feel the weight of 50,000 voices, and it's then you understand Rome doesn't cheer for you. Rome cheers for your blood. Against all odds, you survive. And in Rome, survival makes you valuable. You stop being just a slave, you become a spectacle, a commodity with a name. Shouted by drunken men and whispered by women who trace your victories on their thighs. Soon you discover the strange paradox of the gladiator's life. You are property, yet you're also a celebrity. Scribbles appear on the Colosseum walls, crude graffiti, scratched with charcoal or chalk. Crescens, the net fighter, makes the girls sigh. Celadus the Thracian is the heartthrob of the maidens. The walls remember what the poets never will: women leaving love notes not for senators or emperors, but for blood-soaked slaves. And those women, some of them pay good coin to spend a night with a gladiator. The same hands that butcher men in the arena cradle them in silk afterward. You are both killer and lover, adored and despised, desired and disposable. Success brings gifts. Patrons throw gold rings, fine cloaks. even villas to their favorites, some gladiators earn enough to buy freedom. Though freedom itself is marked by another wooden sword, the rudes, a polished symbol of release. To hold one in your hand is to feel years of chains cut away. Most never touch it. And still, the games get stranger. By the 2nd century, one emperor Commodus himself, son of Marcus Aurelius, takes the stage. He cheats, of course, slaughtering animals from behind barriers or dueling gladiators who dared not strike the emperor. But Rome cheers anyway, because even a sham fight with a god emperor is theater. Commodus swings his sword, drenched in self-delusion, and the Colosseum echoes with forced applause. That is what you are now, half hero, half human sacrifice. A walking contradiction. You are the Cardassians of the ancient world, if the Cardassians carried spears and died on live TV. And as you stare into the crowd, you realize the deeper truth: fame here is just another leash. Rome will love you today, and feed you to lions tomorrow. Victory doesn't guarantee safety. It just buys you another day to risk your life. Your body becomes a ledger of wounds, split brows, cracked ribs, half-healed gashes stitched together with horsehair. Roman Medici patch you up with wine-soaked rags, honey poultices, or cauterizing irons that smell like cooking pork, if you survive the surgery. Infection is waiting in the shadows. Your enemies don't always wear armor. Rival gladiators might poison your food with belladonna or slip a shard of lead into your bread. Sabotaged gear, a dulled sword, a weakened helmet strap could mean death in the sand. And if you think the Lanista or the crowd cares, think again. To Rome, one dead gladiator simply means another can take his place. The statistics are merciless. Ancient accounts suggest that in the Colosseum, 1 in 5 fighters never walked out alive. The other 4 staggered back, only to be thrown into the arena again. Good odds, you mutter to yourself, but only if you're not the 1 in 5, even when you survive. Survival itself is brutality. Every night in the Ludus, you lie awake in the stink of sweat and blood, knowing that the man sharpening his sword beside you today might be the one trying to bury it in your chest tomorrow. There is no friendship here that doesn't taste of iron. This is the truth behind the spectacle. The sand is not golden. It's soaked red. Every roar of the crowd is built on bones. And you are the mortar holding Rome's empire of entertainment together. The arena doesn't just break bodies. It breaks choices. Every swing of your sword is chained to a question: do you obey? Or do you rebel? History whispers the name Spartacus, the Thracian gladiator, once shackled like you. In 73 BC, he snapped his chains at the Ludus of Capua, gathering 70 fighters armed with kitchen knives and stolen cleavers. For 2 years, his rebellion shook Rome itself, swelling to an army of 70,000 slaves and deserters. He defeated legions, burned estates, and for a moment made every gladiator believe the impossible: freedom was not just a rumor. But Rome doesn't forgive rebellion. By 71 BC, Marcus Licinius Crassus crushed Spartacus's revolt. 6,000 captured fighters were crucified along the Appian Way, their bodies rotting in the sun as a warning to every slave who thought of rising again. That's the price of defiance. And so you weigh your odds in silence. Stay obedient, endure the humiliation, and perhaps earn the rudes, the wooden sword of freedom. Or gamble on rebellion, and your end will not be in an arena but on a cross, your death stretched out for days, cheered not by crowds but by carrion birds. Rome is clever in its cruelty. It dangles hope before you like a dangling grape in the desert heat, just close enough to see, never close enough to taste. And that's why most gladiators bow their heads, march into the sand, and swing until their arms give out, because in Rome, obedience might keep you alive. But rebellion guarantees that your name is carved into wood only long enough to mark your grave. Even the best blades dull, even the strongest bodies break. The truth is, gladiators rarely live past 30. Muscles hardened from endless training, joints swollen from bone on bone. You might survive 10 years if fortune favors you, but fortune is Roman, and she is fickle. Some win the rudes, the wooden sword of freedom, but freedom is a cruel joke. You leave the arena with scars that never heal, lungs blackened from dust and smoke, a reputation that opens no doors. You're free, yes, free to die poor, forgotten, and broken on the streets you once entertained. And for the rest, one unlucky strike, one slip in the sand, and it's over. No applause, no dignity. Just silence. Broken by the scrape of slaves dragging your body to the pit, Rome doesn't offer retirement. Offers you a burial trench. And if you're lucky, maybe a coin pressed into your palm to pay Karen for the ferry across the Styx. That's as close to a pension as you'll ever get. Rome applauds you while you bleed. But once you fall, it forgets you before the sand dries. And yet, somehow, you remain. The gladiator, chained, broken, humiliated, it became Rome's most enduring myth. Statues carved in your likeness still stand. Mosaics gleam with your bloodied victories. Emperors wrote laws in your shadow, and poets sang of your agony as if it were glory. The irony. In life, you were property, no more than livestock with sharper teeth. In death, you are legend. A spectacle woven into Rome's identity. You weren't free when you lived. But in memory, you became immortal. So tell me, would you pick up the sword, or fall on it? And if this glimpse into Rome's darkest stage unsettled you, subscribe, because history isn't dead. It's waiting in the arena.